What we'll discuss today is basically a plethora of learning. In the absence of any specific instructions or a guidelines or an order from the government, either at the central level or at the state level, what we will be discussing today is at best on how we need to prepare ourselves. The day the government says go, we should be ready. We should not be scampering here and there to find solutions and ways and means. That's the core objective of what we'll discuss today. The context is very simple. As in the few minutes earlier, we have discussed that there are 5 lakh hoteliers across the country, and everybody who's in the food business operation is struggling, and we need to put these struggles behind us and we need to go further. So to set a tone on that, today we'll discuss on how to go about reopen and revive the restaurants. So you can pose any questions that you may have into the chat box. We will take the questions. We will answer every question. The context is on the 24th of March 2020, the Government of India has ordered a nationwide lockdown with no notice at all. Every business establishment, barring the emergency medical services, have been shut down. It is more than 60 days and the restaurants are closed. The owners of the restaurants are oscillating between the hope of an early reopening and an uncertain future. In the last 15 days, that is ever since the lockdown 4 has been announced, where the liquor shops have been allowed, there are voices, very vocal voices saying that if liquor shops can be allowed to reopen, the restaurants also should be allowed to reopen, because a restaurant is better in a position to maintain social distancing than a liquor shop. This is one argument which has been coming very, very vocal. Nevertheless, in another 2 days, the lockdown 4 will be over. Hopefully, there will be some good guidelines which are practical for everybody to follow, and then all the restaurants and food business operators will be reopening. And let's see how go. Business disruption, it casts a very wide shadow over the silver lining. And now this is a time to plan towards reopening, because as I said, hopefully from the 1st June, if Karnataka government allows, then I'm sure many other governments will also allow. And this is also the time for us to plan and look for a good future instead of remaining continuously in a tense present. Now let's see what are the effects of the restaurants being shut down. The effects are in different areas. One is the people-centric effects. Second effect is what happens in the back of the house, especially in a kitchen. Third is what happens in a public space, especially in a restaurant area or a dining area. Fourth, what are the effects on the market forces which happened. Let us briefly discuss what probably happened. People-centric effect. Staff have lost their work, they have lost their job, they have become inactive, and quite a few of them have left the place. Some of them may still have their job, but they have lost their work, which means for the last 60-65 days, they have not been physically doing any work. They are inactive. And quite a few of them are left places, especially the migrant skilled workers who are working in the restaurant industry, who come from various places of the country. Many of them have gone back. Maybe few of them will find alternative employment, and they may not find it very, very lucrative for them to come back. So that is one effect which has happened on that. The second effect, the guests who are so fond of eating out and who keep all the 5 lakh hotels across the country and the restaurants in good stead, they have lost their dining opportunities. They have lost their favorite food and beverages. More importantly, the restaurant industry or the food industry is a part of every family celebration. Whether there is a wedding, whether there is a party, a function, or a puja, or a betrothal, or whatever it is, the food industry becomes a part of that function. So the guests have also lost an opportunity to make food as a part of their celebrations any longer. And sadly, the owners have lost revenue and the profit, and some of them are on the verge of losing their confidence of reviving their restaurants and running further. Then what can go wrong in the back of the house, in the kitchen? Wastage of food and ingredients, because the shutdown has been ordered with no notice at all. Most of the perishable food material must have gone waste. The cooked food might have been distributed to someone at the end of the day, but the unfinished or a semi-processed food which was still there, especially the perishable food, must have gone waste. And then after 65 days, even some of the non-perishable food might not remain restaurant grade. It might still remain edible, palatable to some extent, but it may or may not remain restaurant grade. So there has been a wastage. Then there is a destruction of food safety in the kitchen. Wherever we have decomposed food particles lying around, we would see fungus, molds, bacteria, and rodents. And you open any kitchen which has been closed for 30-40 days, the chances are that you'll find some cockroaches, you'll find some rats, you'll find some of the rodents there, and so on and so forth. As far as the environment is concerned, stale air had set in because most of the restaurants will have a mechanical kitchen ventilation system. So when you close down, it is completely airlocked. There's a lot of stagnant, stale air. Water has become stagnant. It cannot be used now. Then the drainages might have become blocked. And then some of the equipment might go into a malfunctioning, especially electromechanical equipment, maybe some wiring loss, some solenoid valves would have gone in, especially the equipment which requires a regular maintenance might have got adversely affected. And then the MEP systems, whether we are talking about electrical system or a digital system or a ventilation system, there must be some wearing out of MEP systems. All these are effects of the shutdown. Then we are talking about what might be the effects on the public space. The public spaces probably are a little easier to bring up because you may not have many components which will really go bad, except some dust and dirt accumulating here and there, stale air and bad odor. Then we're talking about spoilage. Some material like menu cards or bill folders or some small tabletop apparatus like a swipe machines, maybe a tabletop blender or a shaker, they might have gone into a mode of spoilage. And then definitely the upholstery and furnishings with 65 days of a lockdown or a shutdown definitely need a revisit whether they are fit to be used in their current condition or they need a replacement. These are the effects on a public space by and large. Then we are talking about the most important effects of the shutdown and external factors. There is a break in the supply chain. The vendors have stopped supplying. The manufacturers have no way to reach to the wholesalers. Wholesalers, no way to reach to the vendors. Vendors, no way to reach the restaurants because we are not buying. So there is an entire breakdown of a supply chain of all the material that a restaurant would purchase. Automatically, there is a total stoppage of the revenue and there is a loss of profit. Postponement of vendor bills with the daily revenue not coming in, and the restaurants which have got a credit arrangement with their vendors, they are finding it difficult to honor their commitment to the vendors. Those who have got deeper pockets, they have been able to flush out some money and settle the vendors' bills, but this is a cascading effect. Loss of revenue for a restaurant has become dishonoring of an agreement with a vendor. In turn, vendors are suffering their commitments. Then there is a difficulty in meeting statutory payments, whether it is a rent or a license or electricity bill or a property tax and so on and so forth. Then we also have an uncertainty of customer loyalty. We don't know whether we open the restaurant tomorrow, whether our customers will come flocking to us back together, or they will take their own time, or in these 60-65 days that we lock down, many people have become expert chefs at home. So maybe they would like to continue cooking for themselves at home and they will take a few weeks to a few months before they start coming back to the restaurant. That is what we are saying is a unsure future. Now these are primarily the effects of the restaurant shutdown on all spheres. So to sum it up, we'll say we are in an unkind present because we don't have we don't have revenue or profit, and we don't have a surety of continuation of our business once we reopen. Let's move on. Not only these effects, but a lot of features for which our restaurants, especially the Indian restaurants, are very well known, would now become BC features. That means they are before Corona features. You may not find these features once the restaurant reopens, either by compulsions or by a statutory compulsion. We don't know yet. But it is for sure that the restaurants will come back in a new avatar and they will not be same when they reopen. Let us see what might go away from a restaurant. Waiting lounge. There will be no more a waiting lounge in a restaurant. There will be a very, very serious discouragement of the guests who arrive well in advance. Even when there is a group booking and people come in bits and pieces, ones and twos, for everybody to assemble, perhaps in future, they may have to wait outside the restaurant, probably in a parking lot, and we may not have anything called a waiting lounge in our restaurant any longer to ensure hygiene and social distancing. Please understand, the features that we're talking about which will vanish for two primary reasons. One is to maintain social distancing. Second is to maintain hygiene. We may not have fully decorated tables any longer. You don't have a tablecloth, you don't have a runner, you will not set up. In F&B service hotel management course, setting up a table is a very, very elaborate topic. I think that entire topic will die in the short term to medium term, because you may not set up a table at all hereafter. So it will become very, very unlikely you will find a table very well set up like in a fine dining establishment hereafter. There will be bare tables. You will not have anything called a personalized service. There will be no menu cards. Somebody will still give you a lot of attention, but that attention will be clinical. It will no longer be like what a hospitality institution has been giving you all these while. There will be no menu cards. This picture is put in very clearly to show the menu cards which they are holding in their hands now will vanish. There will be no printed menu cards. There will be a electronic menu. Probably it will be transmitted on the guest telephone or a smartphone, or there might be a digital display somewhere in the restaurant. And the chances are the guest will pre-order before they even come to the restaurant. So this kind of a personalized attention will go. Now this is how you will have your service brigade in the before Corona time. They're all very smartly dressed. I think this picture says they're all getting ready for a good briefing session, probably before opening of a restaurant. But this will give way to a service brigade looking like this in after Corona. This is how you will find. Everybody will have to have a face mask. Everybody will have to wear a pair of gloves in the restaurant. In the kitchen, they will also wear a head cover. Maybe it is possible the government may mandate a headgear even in a restaurant. But at the best, this is how your restaurant service brigade is going to look like in after Corona series. Lavish buffets will be a thing of the past. It is not going to be possible for serve yourself. The guest will not be allowed to serve himself or herself. All buffets will be assisted. So a lavish serve yourself buffet will be in BC. It will not be in AC. Personalized attention. It may not be there because the kitchens are going to cut down on the staff, cut down on the variety. Some customization of food will still be possible, but if you look at this kind of a one-to-one interaction between a chef and a guest in the restaurant, it is very rare. I don't say it might completely go, but it will become very, very rare. It may not be there. Elaborate menus. You will not have any more elaborate multi-page menus. Your menu will have to cut down. Menus will become trim, slim, short, but they'll become very, very interesting. While we are at it, I would like to attend. Can we Is this visible? Can somebody type yes? Is this visible? Can somebody unmute and say, are you able to see this?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, fine. This is a small menu card. This is a takeaway menu card which I wanted to show to our people that these kind of menu cards will become a thing of the past. I would like to unfold this menu card for you. The first unfold, second unfold, third unfold, fourth unfold, fifth and sixth. Can you see? Can somebody see this, please?
Yes, we can.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 pages on each side. This is the back side. Out of these 8 and 8, 16 pages, 3 pages do not have the list of the dishes. 15 pages have. On an average, each page has got about 20 items. So this takeaway menu card that I just shown you now has got something like 300 items in that. Very creative. I'm sure somebody has put in a lot of mind and thought application into making that menu card, but those kind of menu cards will become a thing of past. Now, probably you may have a single page menu or a single sheet menu or a daily changing dynamic DDH menu. Then the joy of dining is gone. At least in the short term to medium term, people coming into the restaurant will not be able to do something like what this picture will show you. Social distancing is going to be strictly enforced. Hygiene is going to be strictly enforced. So coming to restaurants for the purpose of being together will not be possible in the immediate future. And then these kind of parties, letting down your hair in bars and pubs and clubs, they're also going to be a thing of the past. You will probably become a solo drinker, or maybe you will have to quietly sit and enjoy your drink and leave the place. These kind of an activity may or may not be allowed in the immediate future. So in effect, what we are saying is, the style and substance of a restaurant is gone. A restaurant, which is a very bubbly place, very joyful place, a place where we all can meet together, spend good time, have a great meal, and more than anything, have a fantastic experience, is gone. It has become a thing of before Corona. But then, let us not look at that. These are some of the learnings. What Corona had done, what this shutdown had done, the Southern Star Hotel in Mysore has declared they are shutting down. Then there are reports. We'll have to take all the reports with a pinch of salt. Somebody says 50% of the restaurants will become unviable if lockdown extends any further. Then there is, according to the National Restaurant Association of India, the restaurant industry is looking at a loss of 1 lakh crore. We're talking about 1 lakh crore. So, in comparison to these big worries, the small worries of losing a few features in the restaurant is nothing. It is minuscule. We can tide over. We can come back. But then to come back, it is a very, very tough job. We need to become tough and not take things easy. But if we take things easy, the future is going to become very tough for us. Probably this is how the restaurants will start looking like, very clinical, no decoration, no embellishments, no ambience, no style, no substance. Then the entire restaurant brigade will look like some kind of a war zone warriors. We don't know. So the focus is going to shift from ambience and style to food and safety. These are the two factors that will make our restaurant survive or perish. Now we'll see what can be a step-by-step approach to reopening the restaurants. We've seen what happened when the restaurants were shut down and what went wrong, what elements could go on and so on and forth. Now let us understand how to go about reopening our restaurants. 5 areas, they require attention. There could be more, but we will discuss about 5 areas that require our attention to reopen and run the restaurant. These are the areas: physical infrastructure, COVID-19 protocols, operations, menu re-engineering, and business strategy. Any attention that we need to give to these 5 areas are brought in by the twin factors of social distancing and hygiene, which are going to govern how our business operates in the near future. In the physical infrastructure, back of the house and kitchen, we look at staff entry protocol, locker room layout. Now it is mandated the staff member every day upon arrival will have to be thermally screened. Locker rooms are to become bigger. Lockers cannot be shared anymore. Staff will need to come in a staggered timings to avoid crowding at the time office or at the locker room. Then you have to create a quarantine store for non-perishable goods which will come in before they actually shift into the storeroom. This is because medically it is proven that the coronavirus will survive on surfaces between 1 day to 3 days. So it is strongly recommended any material that comes, you quarantine that for at least about 24 hours. And those who can afford, because of their purchasing arrangements, if they can quarantine for 3 days, it's well and good. And then any perishable material that comes in will need to be first washed at the pre-receiving area itself in 50 ppm chlorine, and then they are shifted into a cold room before they go into the kitchen for actual usage. That is a pre-receiving sanitization. Then reduction in touch points. Your as many features as possible can become sensor operated or automated. Whether it is a door, it can be a sensor operated door. The temperature checking, it can be a door mounted thermometer. Then we are talking about face recognition software for attendance. No more biometric fingerprinting or a retina or whatever. So on and so forth. So reduce the touch points as much as possible. Then revision of kitchen layout, because the FSSA is going to say that in a 10 running feet length of a kitchen area, not more than 2 people can work. Compare that with our present layout. By and large, in the restaurants, where in 10 feet we'll have at least about 3 people working. So the kitchen layouts need to be revised. Kitchen also needs to have a lot of hand wash points and sanitization points, because the kitchen workers will need to wash their hands with soap and water for 20 seconds, followed by a 70% alcohol-based sanitizer every hour. So you need to make certain changes in the kitchen layout, bring in these facilities, and then you also need to conduct a very, very thorough pre-opening inspection of the kitchen. You'll need to check and rectify all the kitchen equipment, check and rectify all the surfaces, check and rectify all the lighting, power supply, cold rooms and refrigeration equipment, chillers, freezers, ice makers, and so on and so forth. All electrically operated tabletop equipment, microwave ovens, toasters, blenders, and sandwich grillers, and so on and so forth. Completely and thoroughly, they need to be inspected, faults found out, rectified, dry runs done, and then only you will be able to pre-open the kitchen, not even fully open the kitchen. That is as far as the physical infrastructure is concerned. Then this is a document issued by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India, and FSSAI. It says, to avoid the transmission of COVID-19, food businesses must practice frequent hand washing, change the gloves before and after preparing the food, ensure frequent cleaning and sanitizing of food containers, make hand sanitizers available to consumers on their way in and out of food premises. This just one of the instructions like this. Will have innumerable instructions and guidelines coming our way. Why I'm showing this is going to become a part of our life, both practice in a day-to-day life as well as creating the facilities for this. You will have to install more sanitization areas, install more hand wash sinks, and so on and so forth in the entire premises. Then in the restaurant, if you look at in the physical infrastructure, you see in the back of the house, now you see in the restaurant, dining area and public spaces, guest entry protocol. Every guest entering into the kitchen will need to be checked for their body temperature, and they need to be asked whether they have any symptoms which might lead to a suspicion of COVID-19. Either if their body temperature is beyond the acceptable limit, or if they show any symptoms of COVID-19, the restaurant shall not allow the guest into the restaurant. Please remember this. Right of admission is now restricted based on COVID-19 protocol. Then the revised layout. This is where the toughest point. World Health Organization has come up with a notification saying that in a 10 square meter area, not more than 4 people can be allowed to sit in a restaurant. That means we're talking about 110 square feet for 4 people. So we're talking about 28 square feet per person at the minimum. And this we're talking about in the seating area alone. And then you add other facilities in that, your average will become something like 35 to 40 square feet per cover in a restaurant. So by and large, it is prudent to say the restaurant layouts will have to be revised, and we might lose at least half of the seating capacity of every restaurant right now. And then it is also mandated every restaurant will also have to have an isolation room. If not an isolation room, at least an isolation area. So whichever restaurant has got a PDR, at least one PDR needs to be converted into an isolation room. The reason is very simple. The government is saying if the guest develops any COVID symptoms after being allowed into the restaurant, they need to be isolated. They should not be asked to leave, or they should not be allowed to leave. They should be isolated, and then a medical help needs to be called for immediately. So every restaurant will require an isolation area or an isolation room. Those restaurants that have got PDRs can convert at least one into an isolation room. Those who do not have a PDR will need to identify an isolation area, cordoned off, screened out, and a proper, maybe a couch, if not a proper bed, at least a couch in some facility there. And then washrooms, spacing in the washrooms will need to become the norm. Hand sanitizers to be made available in the washroom, hand sanitizers to be made available in the restaurant in several locations. Right at the entry, on every countertop, you need to have hand sanitizers, washrooms definitely. We have also seen no self-serving buffet, that's gone. Hard surfaces as much as possible. The reason is you need to clean every surface after every use. Being a restaurant, after a guest vacates a table, then that entire area needs to be sanitized. So it is not possible to sanitize the soft accessories. So you need to convert as much as hard surfaces. Maybe the upholstery will go. If fabric upholstery might go, you might get leather or leatherette or a synthetic leather or whatsoever. Tablecloths have definitely gone. Then you might, for aesthetic reasons, you might look at marble, you might look at granite, you might look at glass, you might look at Korean or whatever, which can be wiped off. A tablecloth cannot be wiped off. You need to remove a tablecloth. But in the current situation, again, that is an additional touch point. Once you remove a tablecloth, it needs to go for a disinfection grade laundering, which is becoming a logistical nightmare. So that's the reason why I said as much as possible, going for hard surfaces. Touch-free as much as possible. Have touch-free lights, occupancy sensors, motion sensors. Then we're talking about a flush. Then we're talking about sanitizer dispensers, sink faucets, doors, whatever facility you can automate, you can make touch-free in the restaurant, make it, your restaurant will become that much safer. Please remember, eventually you have to convey the feeling of safety to your guest to be able to survive in the business. This is some restaurant in Hong Kong which has cornered off some seating to maintain for social distancing. If you do not physically remove the furniture, you may have to restrict the access to those kind of seating. And as we said, the WHO said not more than 4 people in 10 square meter area. So this is why we said the restaurant layouts will change in the times to come. All surfaces, you will not be surprised to find such kind of a hard tabletop with no accessories, no tablecloth, no flower arrangement, no condiments, no cruet set, nothing. And then you may have a very, very hard surface which can be cleaned. Just spray a disinfectant or a sanitizer and clean it with a swipe cloth after every use. So they're going to become bare. They're going to become minimalistic in aesthetics. Then we're talking about after reopening, what are the COVID-19 protocols that we need to maintain? for social distancing as well as for hygiene. Material inwards. Fruits and vegetables to be washed in 50 ppm chlorine solution once and before usage a second time. Non-perishables to be quarantined for at least 24 hours before you allow them into the store. All delivery personnel must wear a face mask, hand gloves, and work on a non-contact basis. Sanitizers to be kept for vendors and delivery personnel at the receiving area. PPE kits to be kept in stock for emergency. These are not to be used on a day-to-day basis, but kept in stock for emergency purposes. Staff movement. This is a thermal screening by non-contact method, staggered arrival timing, spread out locker rooms, hand wash with soap and water for 20 seconds, followed by 70% alcohol-based hand sanitizer. This is mandated for once in 4 hours for non-food handling staff and once every hour for food handling staff. Now the food handling staff uniform is going to include a face mask, a head cover and hand gloves. That we are talking about the service staff and the kitchen staff definitely. Proper disposal of these uniforms is to be taught to the staff. Then, like we do it for a customer, if an employee develops health symptoms during the work, even the employee needs to be isolated. Medical help needs to be called. And please do not allow the employee to go home because he's symptomatic, but we don't know whether it is affected or not affected. Before a proper testing, if you allow this employee to go home and start socializing with others, there is a possibility he might affect others also. That is the reason why we said while on work, if symptoms are observed, please isolate the employee and call for medical help. Then in the customer movement, thermal screening by non-contact method upon arrival, no waiting lounges, arrival preferably by pre-booking. You have to encourage people to come by prior reservation and don't give everybody a common time, give staggered timing so that even some tables can be, alternative tables can be kept vacant or alternative tables can be taken up for disinfection while the restaurant operations are already on. And we also said the customer develops symptoms after arriving, isolate, give them an isolation room or an isolation area, and then call for medical help. Kitchen hygiene, disinfectant all surfaces with 1% sodium hypochlorite frequently. This frequently is going to become once in 4 hours. Then deep cleaning by steam at 125 degrees at 9 bar pressure, probably twice a day, or definitely it's going to be once a day. Then uniform hand wash and social distancing to be maintained very, very strictly. There is also another norm which is being imposed. For every 25 food handling workers, the establishment must identify one person who will become a sanitization officer. It does not need to be a new employee or a new person to be appointed. They can identify among their own team who will be trained on sanitization and hygiene, and he will become a team leader for sanitization and hygiene. So wherever restaurants have a proper kitchen stewarding team, probably you might have your kitchen steward and somebody in your kitchen staff and somebody in your restaurant staff to nominate for this kind of a training. FSSAI will come up with these training protocols and modules, and this training is going to become mandatory. And this sanitization officer will become a contact with the government and the restaurant for the purpose of food safety hereafter. Then we're talking about keep your food safe in times of social distancing. Why I'm showing you is these kind of a guideline. There are many guidelines the government has already started issuing. These are jointly issued by FSSAI and the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. These are still evolving. By the time they'll be released as conditions, probably it might take another few days. But by and large, the spirit is going to remain same, that you will be encouraged to maintain social distancing and hygiene. All your guidelines, all your conditions will strictly tell you to maintain these two. Then we talk about what are the COVID protocols in restaurant and the other public areas. Let's see. Disinfectant all surfaces with 1% sodium hypochlorite once in 4 hours. tables and seating after each occupancy, irrespective whether it is 4 hours or half an hour or 20 minutes or whatsoever. Every time a guest vacates a table, that entire seating set, that is your table and chairs and sofa, whatever you have, it needs to be disinfected. Keep hand sanitizers at several locations. Washrooms and toilets to be disinfected frequently. Create an isolation chamber. No soft surfaces. Now, this is the kind of social distancing even in men's washroom urinals. You blocked off alternative urinals so that people are not in close contact with each other or close proximity with each other. And on your hand wash basins, you make it now mandatory to have sanitizer also. Again, one more guideline issued. This is for dishwash. They said remove the loose dirt and food. So they're going to tell you, you need to sanitize your entire dishwasher. Till now, we have a 3-sink dishwash method or a hood type dishwasher or a conveyor type dishwasher, probably depending upon the outlet to outlet. But the system was same, but now it is going to be mandated. All the clearance will be done by a dedicated person in the restaurant, not by every waiter or every other member. And whatever is cleared from the table will directly go into a sanitization or a disinfection bin before it goes into a 3-sink dishwash method. Then we're talking about, let us see what are the effects on the operations in the restaurant. What we will be encouraged is to come up with contactless menu. You might have a display menu. You might have a digitally transmitted menu. You might just put in one QR code at the entrance lobby or entrance foyer where if somebody scans, the menu will be automatically transferred onto their smartphone and they can look at the menu on their phone and place a digital order which will be directly transmitted to the kitchen. Likewise, you're talking about contactless payments. Guests will be encouraged to make payments from their phone. You may not even want to bring in your credit card swipe machines or tabletop appliances or whatsoever. Contactless ordering, this is what you said. Transmit the order from your smartphone directly into the kitchen. Then the service also may not be very elaborate, full service. It might become a portioned, pre-plated service so that touch points are reduced and infection or a contamination scope is minimized. Then condiments and request. When I say this, the table will be a bare, empty, vacant, blank table. You may not have anything on the table. No more budways, no more tablecloth. You may not have your create sets or whatever. Condiments will be given only on request and they'll be given in a single portion. The rule is simple. Any food or a consumable that comes to the table will not go back into the kitchen or into the service station. It will be either consumed or it will be discarded. When we say discarded, it will directly go into a solid waste management bin. And from there, your entire tray will go for disinfection and then it will go in for a dishwash. No more packing of leftover food. Once the food comes onto the table, it will not go back into the kitchen at all. Haldiram's, of course, had a long-standing practice that they don't pack the restaurant table food for you. Now, this will become a norm for every restaurant, whoever it is, because you cannot afford to take a chance. The food which comes to the table, which can be touched by the guest, and then you cannot take it back into the kitchen for the fear of infection. As I said, clearance will be done by a dedicated busboy with a personal protection equipment. Then disinfection of used cutlery and serviceware. Reduced seating, alternative allocation. Alternative allocation means even when you are allotting the tables, try and maintain there is a vacant space in between every 2 occupied tables, unless it becomes a very, very peak time. In the peak time, you may have to allot. But then, as you said, the mandates are going to be simple. There has to be a gap between a guest and guest of 5 feet. There has to be a gap of table to table of minimum 6 feet. Italy has allowed the reopening of the restaurants from 1st of June with a condition that the clear space between 2 guests will need to be 6 feet. UK has also come up saying that the existing restaurant capacity has to be cut down by 50% to bring in a clear space between 2 guests and 2 tables to be a minimum 5 feet. This is a kind of a norm that we will also be getting. So your seating automatically falls. This is how your service staff will look like. You don't know whether they are smiling at you. Indian hospitality is known to be some of the best hospitality in the whole world. But now with the face mask, you will never know whether a waiter is smiling at you or not smiling at you any longer. Then what happens to the buffet in operations? The menu will be trimmed down. You may not have 40 items, 50 items, or 30 items anymore. You may give limited options. It will become a display buffet out of reach for the customers. There'll be a see-through sneeze guard, and there'll be a minimum 1 meter gap between the guest and the sneeze guard. Assisted service by the waiter. Guest may see and tell to the waiter what he or she would like to have, and then the waiter will pick up in mini portion-sized plates and containers and serve on table. The self-service buffet is gone. It is no longer allowed. Takeaway. Please encourage pre-ordering through social media or apps. Create all this. Safe packing. Make sure the packing that you do is absolutely safe. Hands-free delivery and touch-free payments, and minimize customer waiting time. This is just a picture. Marriott at Chandigarh. They have started home delivery of their food. So people are looking at deliveries and takeaways in a big way. This is some takeaway menu that I just show. The left side, what you will find is Fortune in Srikanya, a Welcome Group hotel. Their entire menu is just one page. I think 5 and 2, 7. They're just about 20 items. In comparison to that 250 items that you've seen in a little bit. There's a takeaway menu. Please notice the timings. The timings are also from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., which means they're covering lunch and dinner. That's it. They're not doing anything else. The entire menu is about 20 items. Similarly, another catering company, Patiala Caterers, and even the location is not known. They also have just about 20, 25 items in that. And it's as simple as that. So you try to make your operations easy. You try to make your guest dilemma vanished because they don't have too many things to choose from. Your packing setup, please make sure it is now very, very scientific. There is no infection scope. There is no contamination scope. And this is a picture that we found. Somebody, that's Y Food Coimbatore. With every takeaway bag, they're also giving a sanitization swatch. And they're also mentioning how to get food delivered safely. So they are educating the customers in the care that they are taking in ensuring their food is made and delivered very safely, and further giving a hand sanitization swatch. Then we come to the very interesting point, menu re-engineering. What is menu re-engineering? And why are we talking about menu re-engineering now? Now let us look at what is going to happen is in AC, that is after Corona. If somebody tells you the restaurant will run post-COVID-19, please don't believe them, because COVID is not going away. COVID-19 is going to be around for a long time. We will live with Corona, we will live with COVID. So it is only after lockdown. There is nothing post-lockdown, there is nothing called a post-COVID-19. Let's be clear on that. So now what happened is, because the seating capacity is reduced and proportionately everything else cannot be reduced, your cost will increase. Then the footfalls are reduced. But then the revenue needs to be increased because your costs are increased. So how do we do? This is a big question. So one of the approaches is menu re-engineering. Let us look at how we can tackle this scenario. In short, we take out the menu and we study the popularity versus profitability of the items. That is the study of menu re-engineering in short. So what are the factors that we look at? What is the item costing, every item? What is the recipe? So that we will know groups of recipes, common raw ingredients or raw materials to be identified for the scale of purchase. Then we're talking about a category food cost tracking. In that category of those items, what is the food cost of this particular item? And then what is the contribution margin analysis? How much this one item is contributing to the revenue, how much this item is contributing to the profitability. You analyze these very, very carefully, then you will understand what items to be kept and what items to be removed. And then finally we study what is the popularity versus profitability management. In every restaurant, there will be some items which are very, very popular with very low margin, and there will be some items which are not very popular, but they will give very high margin. This is where we're talking about a resale. Sorry. Post-corona essentials, what is that we will do? Cut down the menu by at least half, make it slim trim. The reason is because of our compulsion to maintain social distancing in the kitchen. Either we'll reduce the kitchen manpower or we will call them as staggered timings. So your kitchen is not operating at 100% capacity any longer. So to cope up with the demand, you will need to cut down the menu. Then as a rule, remove all items which hold below par for the last 100 days before you shut down the restaurant. Then bifurcate the menu into takeaway and dining. Now this is a very interesting point. Hereafter, because of these COVID-19 protocols which are imposed on the restaurant industry, people coming to the restaurant is going to become very, very scary. There are reports already, 50% of the people who are surveyed, they said they will not go into the restaurant at least for 2 months after the restaurants reopen. So the footfalls are falling, seating capacity has already fallen, but the revenue has to be increased. So what we need to do is that we need to bifurcate the menu into takeaway and dine-in. Takeaway is going to be promoted in a very, very big way. We'll discuss that in the next point. Reduce the variety, make it a single specialty. If you are a fine dining restaurant, multi-cuisine, offering half a dozen cuisines, it is time that you cut down in your offerings and make it, if possible, make it a single specialty. If not possible, maintain one dominant cuisine and then some multi-cuisine options only for those people who demand that. Otherwise, your cost of operation is going to go haywire. Wherever possible, introduce local specialties or regional specialties. Then make sure that you have a few signature dishes. Please remember, in future, these signature dishes are going to pull your customers to your restaurant. Then we're talking about in dine-in, if you look at, reduce a la carte menu significantly. Introduce set menus or table d'hote menus in 3-course and 5-course options, and then a limited buffet option. Plan to spread the buffet 3 times items of a 5-course menu, but priced at 2 times. I'm talking about a predatory pricing. Here we are discussing about a pricing policy. Your buffet should become a little attractive for it to move fast. Otherwise, your wastage factor will be very high. So pricing needs to be done very, very sensitively. The spread of a buffet will need to be 3 times of your TDH menu, but the price is only double. Include your signature dishes in a buffet and don't give them in a la carte, which means that we are trying to incentivize people to go in for a buffet. Then make the menu quick to serve. We are talking about 30 to 45 minutes for rotation. There is a reason behind it. Now, seating capacity has already fallen by 50%. So, for the same quantum of revenue, you will have to do double your rotations in the reduced seating capacity. So your turnaround time has to be cut down. That is also the reason why we say TDH menu, table d'hote menus or set menu, whatsoever. No more a la carte menus except as an option. So we are talking about you need at least 3 times rotation to make up for the 50% seating loss, another 50% loss of business. And see, your menu is 70% dynamic, which means changing menu, seasonal changes, daily changes, weekly changes or whatsoever, and 30% is a static, which will contain your signature dishes. One major attraction can be curated menus for privately hosted parties. You can start taking parties for 10 or 12 or 15 or 20 or whatsoever, and see that you have a very, very privately curated menu. Let your chef interact with the client even before they come, because celebrations of large gatherings are gone. Now the government is limiting maximum number of 50 people for a wedding. So your restaurant parties will be maximum 10 to 20. So try to give that special touch by having curated menus. Let your chef interact very seriously with it. Takeaway ideas. Promote the menu through apps and social medias. Give daily changing dynamic menus. Instead of allowing a loyal, regular client or a customer to look for a new restaurant every day, let them have a new menu in the same restaurant every day. Please understand, with the concept of work from home becoming very successful in the last 2 months, many companies are going to look for continuance of work from home in the next few years to come. So when people are working at home, they might find it easy to get food from outside. So this is going to emerge as a very big market for you. Please remember this. Then also, to make it attractive, pricing per meal and not for portion. No more a la carte selling. Offer set meals for 2 people, 4 people, 6 people, and use your creativity, use your imagination or whatsoever. Use safe packing, include a sanitization swatch. Tell them how safe you are. Then, to make it attractive, give a couple of complimentary items to begin with. See, the Ministry of Health is very strongly advocating building up immunity. Maybe you can have your immunity booster kada, or what you call the kashayam or the concoctions or whatsoever. Maybe make it a complimentary, don't announce, but give it away with every takeaway order. So let people find a little happiness in what we are doing for them. Make sure you give them a telephone number to reach you back in case if they have any cause of concern. They don't need to be major complaints. Maybe one client will find packing not proper, maybe the lid has come off. They'll be very scared to consume that food. They might want to cross-check with you. So please make sure, give them a telephone number and see that they are able to reach you quickly. Then we are looking at a very big opportunity. It is known that in Indonesia, 80% of the food business runs on delivery and takeaway. In the revised scenario, in the post-lockdown situation, we can safely target for a takeaway and delivery business up to 60% and the remaining 30-40% in the dining. But then please remember, there's no sure formula of what we want to do it today, because this is an evolving subject and we'll keep on reviewing until the business stabilizes and the parameters are defined. Parameters, 2 primary parameters: what is my revenue? Second, what is my profitability? In between these two, all other parameters will fit. Once they fit, you can relax a little bit. Otherwise, it is a new find every day. Now, there are some interesting finds that we are looking at. Is the one on the left side, you will see Del Park Royal at Bikaji Kama Place, New Subhash Nagar, Ajanta Cinema Complex. Now they are offering a wedding package for 50%, all inclusive at 1,51,000. Now that includes an invitation card design, mehendi artist, photo booth, the decoration for one car, standard mandapam. So these kind of fixed parties are going to give a lot of revenue hereafter. And the one on the right side, this is the restaurant in Jaipur, which is offering a similar package for 45,000. But of course, the class is a little different. See, it is time that we also need to come up, because if you have your small banquet halls, then you start taking these kind of all-inclusive parties. These are easy to market. These are the need of the hour. Clients will also take them easy. Start developing packages and promote them very effectively. Now, the last point on the reopening of restaurants, let us discuss few points of business strategy. Strategy is very unique to every business establishment. So there are no formulas here. We'll only throw up some ideas. We only want to discuss some ideas. There are certain reliefs as a restaurant owners that you are entitled to. These are justifiable. You need to ask for it. You need to ask for waiver of rent if you are on a rented property, or waiver of property tax if you are on a own property. If it is a rent, please ask your landlord to give you a waiver. If you are an owner, please ask your respective state government or a local authority to give you a waiver on the property tax. You need to have a waiver of license fee. You need to have waiver or moratorium interest on borrowings, and then tax concession or tax holiday. make an association, make a group, make a representation, go to the authorities and ask for them without giving up. If not for a longer period, at least for the lockdown period, plus another 3 months that you will definitely take to re-establish. So we're talking about effectively ask for all these reliefs at least for about 6 months. This will come as a big differentiator in your viability. It will reduce your anxiety and tension to a lot of extent. Then it is a time that people who are in rented properties paying very high rents to start converting the rental agreement into revenue sharing agreement. Start talking to your landlords. Today, the landlords will also understand the coming times are going to be very uncertain. It is perhaps better to have a revenue share instead of losing a premium tenant. Please also note, many a times, the key occupant of a commercial building happens to be a hospitality outlet. It can be a restaurant or a QSR or whatever. So even the landlords would not like to lose out on the key tenants. So it is easier for you to renegotiate with the landlords to shift into a revenue sharing arrangement. Vendor payments, all outstanding payments, try and clear in one-time settlement and then get into your fresh purchase policies, because your revenue, cash flow, liquidity, there is so much of uncertainty. Please do not make any commitments that you are not in a position to fulfill. Let there be some fluidity, let there be a win-win situation between the vendor and the restaurant owners, both of them. AMC, please ask all your AMC partners to give you an extension without additional charges. The 6 months that you have lost, let them not charge you. I'm sure many of them will agree. Then renegotiate the salary with your staff. Ask for reduction in a fixed salary and then link some part of the salary to the productivity. Please remember, if you earn, you can take care of them, and if they are there, they will take care of you. So there has to be a win-win situation. Don't arbitrarily cut down on the salary. Please renegotiate. Link it to the productivity. Review the brand positioning. Brand extension for takeaway. As you said, takeaway and delivery is going to be a big business. Now, wherever you are already an established brand as a restaurant, please create a brand extension and convey to your clients that you're a safe and a great place for dine in, because you still require that 30-40% of the revenue coming from dining in. And then convey that you host great and small parties. This will give you a high value revenue. There's a convention center in Hyderabad which has opened a takeaway very recently. This is one of the largest and one of the most successful convention centers in Hyderabad. They have also got it to a takeaway for two reasons. One, to keep their revenue flow coming in. Second, also to remain in the public memory, being a very large convention center and with the government condition restricting gatherings only to 50 people. If they continue only as a convention center, probably their viability will be affected. So they need some revenue stream coming in, because they also have some fixed staff. Even at zero occupancy, you need to have some staff. They have staff. So to keep them occupied, they have this kind of a development. Then we're talking about review the revenue matrix. Dining to takeaway may be aimed at 40% or 60%. You won't get more than 30-40% in the restaurants in the next few months to maybe a year or two. Then set up your own delivery system in due course, not immediately. Immediately you might depend still on delivery aggregators, factor in those kind of margins or the cost, and then over a period of time, once your brand positioning becomes stronger, then you might think of having your own delivery setup. Even the National Restaurant Association of India is considering setting up own delivery system and not depend on third-party aggregators any longer. Then this is also the time that you need to look at what are the positive sides to this entire business. Amidst the lockdown, unlock your positivity. Positive factors we look at is, we have less manpower to deal with. Because of social distancing norm, it is not possible to have the same number of people after reopening. Because you may not be able to expand the space physically, so it is time that you reduce the manpower. You also have less customers to deal with. One reason, seating capacity is reduced. Second reason, people are a little scary yet. They may not come back to the restaurants locking immediately. So you'll have less customers to deal with, which means your attention can be more. Then you're reduced menu to manage, which means your headaches or your complexities of management will also cut down. Aesthetics and ambience give way to food and safety. So you can deal with the definite signs of food and safety, and you can take it a little easy because aesthetics and ambience are not going to be important immediately. Eventually, they'll come back in due course of time. Yes, your entire restaurant styling experience will come back, but whether it will come back in the next 6 months or 1 year or 2 years or whatsoever is a matter that needs to be seen. But for the time being, you can focus on great food and great safety parameters. So your complexity of managing the restaurant is coming down. So you should be able to do a great job. So let us see some creative aspects of what restaurant owners around the world are doing. This is a restaurant in Paris. To ensure social distancing is maintained and also to see that the restaurant does not look empty, they are positioning mannequins on chairs, alternative tables, they are positioning mannequins. So when you walk into a restaurant, you don't find it empty, but at the same time, they are able to maintain social distancing. I find it a little innovative. Then this is a restaurant in Thailand. They have given screens between customers so that the condition of social distancing is fulfilled. This is again a screen. This is in our own backyard at Vidyarthi Bhavan restaurant in Bangalore, near Gandhi Bazaar. Of course, the restaurant is still not reopened. I presume they're all staff members, but they've already brought in these kind of screens to ensure distancing between their customers. There's again a restaurant somewhere. So you have individual booths. There is no problem with the social distancing there. And you see the lady serving is wearing a face cover completely. It's not a mask. It is a complete cover. And she's wearing gloves. This is quite interesting. I found this is somewhere in Switzerland. This is called a one-table restaurant, it seems. So you pre-order your food and there is only a one table for one person set up for one meal. Your food is prepared in the kitchen and it is put into this basket and it comes to your table. You pick up your food, you pick up your food, you eat and you leave quietly. So this is a very, very private dining area just for one person. It's called a one-table restaurant. Then the next big thing is people who are in hotels can think of converting each room for one table in a hotel. Probably this might become a very good opportunity. You will be able to fulfill all the conditions because every room has got a toilet. So your wash is taken care, sanitization is taken care, social distancing is taken care. Since anyway we are not looking at a full-fledged a la carte service, we're looking at a pre-plated TDH or a set menu. One tray delivered just on the lines of the room service will take care. But where the guest occupancies are not going to be picking up immediately, then these rooms can be put into use for extended restaurant service. Please think about it. But then creativity also has limits in getting ideas. But in implementing ideas, don't show. We have many kinds of entrepreneurs. Let us see some of them. This is what happens when you say you want to do everything. Can somebody find what's wrong with this? Can somebody tell me, can somebody unmute and tell me what's wrong with this?
So the staircase and the handle are in two different directions.
Right. Fantastic. So this happens when a owner comes and says, I put in 20 years in this business, I know everything, I'll do everything. So there are possibilities. They're not saying owners do this, but there are possibilities that you're already in a state of anxiety and pressure and things like that. Don't take chances doing everything yourself. So this could be probably an error done by, I know all experienced kind of an owner. Now this man has studied in an online course and gone ahead and constructed. So please don't Online courses are good for understanding, but not necessarily for implementation. So don't end up in this kind of a scenario. And more importantly, we also have I think in the last 2 months, on an average, every person must have been attending at least about 2 to 2.5 webinars every day. And in 60 days, 2.5 webinars, 150 webinars, there's a possibility somebody will say, I've learned it all, now I'll do everything. But unfortunately, you might end up doing this. So please do not do this. You require professional help. You require an expert. Please hire an expert. Share your ideas, but let them guide you and go ahead. And if you don't want to do that, if you still want to do, then you will do things your own way. You can always take a chance. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. So we are open. We can take any questions if anybody has.
But can I have a talk?
Yes, sir, please.
Good evening, good afternoon, everyone. It's a very good, nice session by Shravan Kumar, which is explained from last 1 hour. Everybody, one should appreciate him for his nicely put before us. Most of the people, they think what we are running a restaurant. I'm in this business from last 56 years. I'm 70 years old now. From last 56. Now that again I have to start the total thing from the beginning. I had to change my kitchen. I had to change my restaurant size and all. That's why I think the government of India is taking a lot of time to reopen our hotels and restaurants, because they're forming all the rules and regulations, which is going to take 1 more month to come back into the field. From there, our hoteliers need to spend some time to renovate our own kitchens and the restaurant, including the rooms. These all the things, I mean, we should appreciate the synergy, Mr. Brijesh Edwards. These kind of things, very rare people in India, they are exposing and making us to learn a lot of things. And definitely we need these type of services to all our hoteliers and restaurant people. And we really appreciate for this. And we will follow and we will take your guidances also, Mr. Edward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. 70 years is 3.5 generations. You carry an encyclopedia of knowledge. I'm sure a lot of that will help in tiding over this crisis and reshaping your business in future.
Thank you, sir. May we have Mr. Ram Mohan? Okay, I'll put forth Mr. Ram Mohan's question. He says he has a banquet hall and how to reopen this. This is his question.
There are 2-3 issues. Whatever may be the size of the banquet hall, the government of India is not going to allow more than 50 people for a social gathering. So yes, maximum is 50 people. And if you have a larger banquet hall, to make a table arrangement for 50 people should not be a major issue. And then try to have pre-plated service on the table and don't give a buffet. We have seen yesterday, of course it may not apply to you. We have seen a video yesterday, somebody forwarded in the social media. There was a wedding in Bangkok where the guests were given away a tiffin box to take it and go away. The entire 5-compartment tiffin box. But coming to banquets in India, for the time being, your gatherings are restricted to 50. Eventually, they might be opened up to 200. So your seating can become spaced out. Give them pre-plated table service.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
If you have any supplementary question, you can ask Mr. Rammohan. Maybe we can discuss. No issues on that.
Yeah, thank you very much. Everything is clear. Everything is covered also.
Welcome.
It's a really reopening about the hospitality industry. You've given a very good coach. Really appreciate. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You're most welcome, sir.
Can we have Mr. Haji Kuti from Kerala Hotels Association, Kerala Hotel and Restaurant Association?
Yes, good afternoon. I am Mr. Haji's behalf. I am talking from Kerala, KHRA, Kerala Hotels and Restaurants Association. Your presentation is very good and it is really immense knowledge. Thank you very much.
Really appreciable.
Thank you. We have just one comment. Kerala Hotels and Restaurant Association is moving a consolidated aggregators from our side. We are planning to develop an app which is in a cooperative society model where all the restaurant owners will be a participant into this app, and the app will be owned by KHRA, Kerala Hotels Restaurants Association. The idea behind is to stop exploitation of the aggregators. So we will have our own system, and we potentially we will be having only one system in Kerala, which we will be serving for all Kerala restaurants. Subsequently, we would like to have the same system expanded to the elsewhere in India, other part of the India. What do you think, and how do we should go together?
It's a very good initiative. There's no doubt about it. And the background for this kind of a thought to come is there are feelings among the restaurant owners that the third-party aggregators are exploiting. If this feeling of exploitation was not there, probably this need also would not have been there. But yes, it is always better to have a network, and if the Kerala Hotels Association is developing, it's fantastic, most welcome. It should work out. But to make it a statewide enterprise, let a foolproof groundwork be done, and it has to be technically very, very strong to survive in the long run.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And thank you for the wonderful initiative by the Kerala Hotel and Restaurant Association.
Santosh Patil, can I talk?
Yes, please go ahead, sir.
So Santosh Patil, sir, how to do outdoor catering? Please.
Outdoor catering also. See, please remember, for all practical reasons, social distancing and hygiene are the two mantras you cannot violate. You prepare your entire product in your kitchen or your only kitchen, whatever you call it. You transport. Your transport system will need to be sanitized. That means your vehicle will need to be sanitized. All the need to be sanitized. The people who take your food from the kitchen to the location will need to be medically screened. They have to be wearing appropriate uniforms. After reaching your locations, to set up your entire catering unit, whether it's going to be a buffet or whatsoever, see that every surface is sanitized, disinfected, and then you serve the food, maintaining social distance. Even in outdoor caterings, the time has come, perhaps you are still talking about pre-portioned, pre-plated serving and not a self-help buffet.
Thank you.
May we have Chef Chatterjee SM?
Yeah. Hi, Mr. Kumar. How are you?
Wonderful. Good.
Yeah, it was a very nice presentation.
Thank
I just wanted to find out, is there any chemical which can be used for surface cleaning? For hand sanitizer is okay, but for the kitchen surface cleaning or the floor cleaning, do we have any recommendation that
we mentioned FSSAI has recommended 1% concentration of sodium hypochlorite.
Okay, that even for the stainless steel working surface?
For the time being, yes.
Okay.
They might modify, they might come up with the revised guidelines, they might give you a few more options, but as of now, it is for use on all kitchen surfaces.
Super, sir. And you are there in South, so we take care.
We are present all over India.
We
are present all over India, don't worry.
All right, sir. I have taken your number, I'll be in touch with you. All right.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Can we have Mr. Gopinath?
I am Gopinath from Shimoga. Sir, as you said, regarding employees' salary, it's better to make them as a profit-oriented, shareholder in profit, so that production can be linked to that, and even employees get benefit out of the business.
Yes.
And as Kerala Association said, KPHR, that is Karnataka Association, is also planning, and Virendra Kamath has taken initiative to do it on his own.
Very good, sir.
creating aggregating for Karnataka hotel industry.
Very good initiative. Wish you all the success.
May we have Mr. Haji Kuti from Kerala Association?
We have a very big concern about MSME. Why and what stops? Why our industry is not yet moved to the MSME? We have tried a lot. We even meet the minister. We even write the letter, but nothing happened. But at this right time, with this COVID, wave, we must move together in order to move our industry to MSME. How can we do that, and what stops it not moving? Could you please explain?
I have already understood that now you are Kerala Hotels Association. Now, these kind of associations and trade bodies will need to come forward. How will I come back to you? These kind of associations and trade bodies will need to come forward, add a substantial strength, and keep relentlessly pursuing with the government and the local authorities. There is no option. There is no other way. Nobody is going to come forward and give you everything free on a platter anymore. You will need to fight for it. When I say fight, I'm saying properly represent and pursue.
Right. So you may even associate with the National Restaurants Association of India and other bodies together, because one body is not enough. So we have to consolidate the bodies together and move, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Can we have Mr. Abhijan? Yeah.
Good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yes, Mr. Talukdar, you are audible. Go ahead.
Good afternoon to all, sir. I am Abhi Talukdar. I am a hospitality consultant from Bhubaneswar, Odisha.
Wonderful.
Mr. Shravan Kumar, it was an excellent presentation. Thank you very much. I have two questions. First one is, while guests and staff enter, except checking their body temperature, clinically we can't do much. And where we have in India 80% asymptomatic cases, in such scene, how do we handle asymptomatic cases in restaurants? This is question number one. Question number two is, how do we handle the price factor now, post-COVID or post-lockdown, since the stringent SOPs by different authorities will require further investment for a restaurant owner? And on top of that, our capacity utilization will be reduced by almost half for social distancing. So capacity utilization is reduced and additional investment for implementing those SOPs. In such scenario, the price increase, the selling price increase is inevitable. But at this case, how it is sustainable to increase the price of my restaurant? These are the two questions. Thank you, sir.
Fine. I'll answer both the questions. So question one is, how do we deal with asymptomatic cases? Unfortunately, the symptoms of COVID-19 will take anywhere between 4 days to 14 days to show up. So the first 4 days, a person might be affected with COVID-19 and still be asymptomatic, and there is nothing medically anybody can do. But the temperature is one giveaway. No other symptoms will be seen. But the temperature alone is not a conclusive evidence that somebody has got contacted by coronavirus, but that is just a beginning. So it is in the process of elimination that you are working in the best interest. There is no way that we can handle asymptomatic cases at all. That is why we said once an employee or a guest comes into our establishment, even after coming in, if they develop some symptoms, we have to assume it is COVID-19. That is the reason why the government is mandating you isolate that person, call for a medical help, and don't allow that person to move away. This is the sad reality of this part is there is really no way that we can find out whether a person has got COVID-19 or not got COVID-19 because the symptoms will not be seen. So government is also saying you assume everybody is affected. That is the reason of social distancing. The reason for recommending social distancing is that you assume the opposite party is affected. That is why you safeguard yourself by maintaining social distancing. The business loss is not 50%, it is phenomenally much more. In the revised layout to maintain social distancing in the restaurant, the seating capacity will fall at least by half, and in the prevailing situation of anxiety, the business walls will fall by another half. So you should be lucky if you get one clientele footfall into the restaurant. So the dine-in revenue at the same prices be not more than 20-25%. That is the reason why we are very strongly advocating that you have to create another entire market of take to compensate for the loss of footfalls. You are very right. Price increase cannot be thought of immediately until you re-establish your restaurant, giving two factors very clearly. One is great food, second is a great safety. Until you convey these two ideas very strongly to your clients, don't even think of increasing your prices. So the loss of revenue will need to be compensated by increasing the takeoff. Since the takeoff in the restaurant footfalls cannot be increased due to the limitations of space and seating capacity, you will need to overcome that by takeaways and deliveries. There is no other way. I hope I have answered your question.
Thank you, sir. Can we have Mr. Perumal Ramachandran?
Yes, sir. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
How are you?
I'm doing very well, sir. How are you, sir?
Fantastic, Perumal. Good to listen from you. Tell me.
Sir, I have a single question. This is regarding the PP, the personal protection equipment. Do we get anything that are washable and reusable?
Personal protection equipment is not recommended to be washed.
Is not recommended.
No. You can have a washable glove, you can have a washable face mask, you can also have a washable head cover. But a whole body personal protective equipment is not recommended to be washed because the protocol involved in making it clean for reuse is much more stringent than what you as an individual or you as a restaurant can handle.
Thank you. Maybe have Miss Asha Balasubramanian.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. Good afternoon, sir. It was a wonderful and informative session, Pavan sir. I have two questions for you. Hope I'm audible.
Please go ahead.
Okay. The first question is that we are a startup and a small size cafe of like say 300 square feet. And we have a minimal staff of like three numbers. So what would you guide us in terms of social distancing and kitchen hygiene, etc.? Because the same question I had a couple of days ahead also, because the entire practices, whatever everybody is selling is for a large scale, hotel business. But for our size, what would you guide and help us? That is the first question.
Very interesting question. Let's discuss. Is your total premises 300 square feet or the cafe seating space is 300 square feet?
No, the total space is 300 square feet, out of which maybe just 100 or 150 would be the kitchen space. It's like divided.
So you have a kitchen space, then you have a display cum takeaway space, and then you have a dining space. Am I correct?
Display, dine-in and takeaway, it's all one place, and we have the kitchen space separate.
Right.
And we do not come and serve at the table. We actually, even before this one, the COVID itself, our general practice is that.
No, Asha, I'm trying to understand how much dining space you have.
Dining space would be around 200 square feet.
So what I would recommend is if you have dining space of 200, then WHO guidelines, you will get maximum 2 tables.
Okay, for the tables.
Maximum 2 tables.
Okay.
So and, my recommendation be think a little creative. Dine-in option, make something fantastic. Make a set menu. Don't go on a la carte piecemeal basis.
Okay.
And let it be as a meal price instead of as a cover charge. In other words, what I am saying is your capacity of take in terms of revenue will need to match your dining space. Your dining space, you'll have maximum 8 to 10, not get more than that in the revised COVID-19 norms. So to make that attractive, don't allow people to sit there for half an hour or 1 hour or whatever and give you a minuscule revenue. Take set menus which are served in your dining. Rest all items are takeaway. You will need to develop a great takeaway concept.
Okay, got it. Okay, sir. Thank you. And the second question was about employee retention, because in the month of April, it was complete lockdown. So we have paid them only half a salary. And now in the month of May, from the time that it has started, we've not been doing a great business. Not even 1/4 of or 1/3 of what we used to usually do. So even this month, we have requested them for a half month salary, but then they're all like, we would want to quit. So what is the next option for employee retention?
Asha, I will discuss this in a different way.
Okay.
Please look at the scenario. The difference between an entrepreneur like you and an employee is that you are a risk taker, whereas an employee is not a risk taker. By a very definition that you have set up a business, that means you are prepared to take risk. By a very definition, somebody has agreed to work for a fixed salary. That person has not taken a risk. It is only fair and justified that you have to honor your commitment of a salary. You can negotiate to a point where it is a win-win situation for both of you.
Okay.
But if they are not in a position to manage with their reduced salary, because as an employee, they may have their commitments and they may have their minimum cost of living. If they are not able to manage their minimum cost of living with the 50% salary that you are offering, they will have no other option but to quit. There is no way to retain them. The only way to retain them probably is to make them understand that they'll become a little more lucrative in the future. You can probably renegotiate, saying that making them partners in the productivity, give them a promise in the share of a profit, a certain percentage will go to them. Probably that make them stay back. But if you continue to pay them only half a salary for April, May, March and all that, if they can't run their families, they'll be...
Right. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Brijesh, before I go any further, can somebody tell me if Mr. Ravi Chawla is there?
Yes, sir. We are unmuting Mr. Ravi.
Okay. Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Now, when I was talking about Bhavesh earlier, he was talking about learning. He said it's a learning experience. The reason why I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, any knowledge, especially in the food business operators knowledge, is unending learning. Somebody with 20 years is still learning. Somebody with 40 years is still learning. And we had a great gentleman who's 70 years and he's in the business for 40 years. And even he said it is still a part of learning. I have learned a lot from Mr. Ravi Chawla. On this forum, I would like to pay my respects to Mr. Ravi Chawla for being my mentor. Whatever I am today in this profession, he is the one who put me in the right from time to time. Sir, thank you very much for being.
It's a real pleasure, Shravan, and God bless you. All the very best for the future too.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. And we also have one more interesting personality, Chef Manjeet Gill.
Excellent, great.
Chef Manjeet Gill, can we have a couple of words from you?
Yeah, no, it was fantastic presentation and very good. But I also have one small question, if you can tell me. Can you hear me?
Sir, I'm hearing. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Really, now the total scenario is changing. The complete is coming, the food and beverage with the new avatar. Now, what kind of a difference we have to bring in our training now in the hotel schools? They are very confused. I'm visiting a lot of schools, and they are confused that, what changes we should bring in our syllabus, our training system, so that the people go in the industry with some better understanding in the training of the future.
Sir, first of all, thank you very much for being on this platform. The last I've seen you was at the Silver Jubilee of Culinary Academy of India, Hyderabad, recently a few months ago.
Yes, yes.
And I think both the occasions can be connected because that is a Culinary Academy of India, and even your question relates to hotel schools. Now, from my perception, when we studied hotel management, kitchen stewarding or the engineering or the food science were supplementary subjects. They were not the primary subjects. The hotel schools have always focused on operations. The 4 primary subjects being food production, food service, housekeeping, accommodation. And from among other subjects, probably communication was given a little importance, and all other subjects were supplementary subjects, no real seriousness was attached. It is only in the last few years that facility planning has been brought into curriculum of hotel schools. I think now the changes are, we need to focus more on hotel engineering, food safety, hygiene, also as serious and important subjects in the hotel schools. The art part of the hotel management is already there, especially when it comes to art of food production.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's wonderful. I think as the industry, we all have to now together help the hotel schools to work on some syllabus. And the servant has absolutely said right. There was some department, they were not the prime department, which become very important to learn and understand that that's the hardcore operation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chef, for being there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chef, for following our webinar series. And we have Mr. Chinmaya.
Yeah. Very good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Chinmaya. Please go ahead.
We run a restaurant and a party lawn in Odisha. It's a very small, tiny town. So my question is, we have a lot of space. Almost the restaurant is built in an area of 20,000-30,000 square feet. But being a small town, it's very, the revenue models are different, staff issues are there. So what could we do? Because in small town, people don't obey rules, regulations. They do not follow protocols. At the same time, our revenues, footfall are very less. So, and we don't see parties happening because we have a big lawn. We wedding parties also. But now in these conditions, we don't see any parties coming.
Chinmay, it is very important you develop a strong delivery model of your business. In a small town, because of the current prevailing scenario, if large parties are not coming to you, if the guest is not coming to you, you have to take your food to the guest. There is no other option. You will need to work very hard on developing an excellent delivery system and get people contagious to your food.
And one more thing, since we are a garden restaurant, we have outdoor seat. So can we convert it to kind of those, maintaining the table distance and social distancing, maintaining the social distancing norm?
Yes, you can. You should do that. Let the weather become a little more pleasant. Let this cyclone and summer be over. Maybe another month down the line, once the weather starts becoming pleasant, you can become a very, very elaborately laid out restaurant maintaining social distancing norms.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Gangadhar Babu, can we have Mr. Gangadhar Babu?
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Okay, Gangadhar, please go ahead.
Sir, fast food standing table hotel alli social distance maintain ಮಾಡೋದು ಹೇಗೆ?
ಎಷ್ಟು ಟೇಬಲ್ ಇದೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ?
ಸರ್ 4 ಟೇಬಲ್ ಇದೆ.
4 ಟೇಬಲ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ನೀವು 1-2 ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ ಇನ್ನ.
ಅಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ ಒನ್ ಟೇಬಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ 4 ಜನ 5 ಜನ ಬಂದಿರ್ತಾರೆ ಸರ್.
ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ಸರ್, ಇವಾಗ ಒಂದು ಟೇಬಲ್ ಕೂಡ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ಲಕ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ, ನೀವು ಅದನ್ನ ಟೇಕ್ ಅವೇ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡ್ಬೇಕು. ನೀವು ಒಂದು ಟೇಬಲ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು 3 feet ಡಯಾಮೀಟರ್ ಟೇಬಲ್ ಹಾಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಕೂಡ ಫಾಸ್ಟ್ ಫುಡ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ 4 ಜನ 5 ಜನ ಬಂದು ನಿಂತ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದು ಒಪ್ಪಲ್ಲ. ಇವಾಗ ಬರೋ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಒಪ್ಪಲ್ಲ. ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ನೀವು ಆ ಟೇಬಲ್ ತೆಗೆದು ಬಿಡ್ಬೇಕು.
ಓನ್ಲಿ ಟೇಕ್ ಅವೇ ಸರ್.
ಓನ್ಲಿ ಟೇಕ್ ಅವೇ.
ಅದರ್ವೈಸ್ ಸಿಟ್ಟಿಂಗ್ 2 ಟೇಬಲ್.
ಸಿಟ್ಟಿಂಗ್ 2 tables ಹಾಕಿದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಅಷ್ಟು ಸ್ಪೇಸ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ಹಾಕಿ.
250 square feet ಇದೆ ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇ ಇದೆ ಸರ್.
ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ?
ಟೋಟಲ್ 400 square feet.
400 square feet ನಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಸ್ಪೇಸ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. 400 square feet ನಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು 20-25 seats ತನಕ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಅಷ್ಟಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಬರಲ್ಲ.
ಸಿಟ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಟೇಬಲ್ ಹಾಕ್ಬೋದಲ್ಲ ಸರ್?
ಹಾಕ್ಬೋದು, ಅಷ್ಟು ಹಾಕ್ಬೋದು.
Good afternoon. I'm PC Rao. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm PC Rao, President, Bangalore Hoteliers Association.
Fantastic.
So nice to hear your all advices and good meeting. I have only one important issue. If any of our vendor or our employee or our employee's family member got affected with COVID-19, what will be our responsibility and what will be our immediate action for what all hoteliers to be taken? Can you just guideline us?
You need to isolate that person and call for a medical help. Let the government identified COVID-19 specialty hospital task force come and take that person away for a preliminary screening. If they are affected, they will be confined for treatment. If they are not affected, they'll be released.
No, if my vendor's relation or vendor has got, then
sir, you cannot do that for people who are not coming to your premises. If your vendor comes to your premises and then has the symptoms, only then you can do that. If your vendor's relation who's somewhere else and all that, you cannot do that.
Okay. Anyhow, thank you. It was very nice. Many of you joined the meeting. It was very good advice. Thank you, sir.
Nice advice. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I think we have answered most of the questions, and the questions are repeated. Most of the questions are repeated, and we will send you the questions across, and then we could answer them one-on-one on a mail or on a phone call later.
Yes, we can do that.
Thank you so much for your time and your wonderful insights. And I take this opportunity to also thank the associations once again, the Kerala Hotel Restaurant Association, the Telangana Hotel and Restaurant Association, the Bangalore Hotel Restaurant Association, the Karnataka Hotel Restaurant Association, and Tamil Nadu Hotel and Restaurant Association, and all the dignitaries who were present during this webinar. And I ask you to follow the webinar series in future as well, and we have a couple of other interesting sessions coming up in the near future. Please follow our webinar series. Thank you so much from Synergy Exposures today.
Thank you so much to all of you. We look forward to see you some other time. Bye.
Thank you, sir.